people on the other side of the world, you just turn it into a certain frequency where that idea came to you. So, I think the idea that we're not alone and that there are other life forms, planets, and just so much more. The universe is way much more than what we originally believed.
So, if the universe is vast and there are definitely alien beings, who are we to claim that we're the most important? I think it's a grandiose way of thinking to even assume that we're more important than other creatures.
Yeah, I know, and I think just like how I think people are moving more towards the idea, you know, away from the old school way of thinking and more towards the idea that we're not alone and all that. I think that we're also realizing that more than likely we are not that much of a higher being. I mean, we're not as grand or incredible in the universe as we think we are on Earth.
Could it have been a coping mechanism for people from previous generations to find some type of answer to the chaos that they were living in? Could you imagine what it was like to live during the world wars? Or, I mean,
even going back further than
even
that.
Further than that, like,
Not just the
these
world
people
wars,
must have been living some really miserable lives. And in order to,
well, the thing is, we don't know much. We're human beings. We're realizing that we don't know so much now. But even like, I think throughout our entire species, we've always been trying to figure things out. Like, who are we? Why are we being here? What's the point of all this?
so hence,
there are higher powers. So I think that we've been, as a coping mechanism to answer these questions and kind of settle all your fears and things like that, I think that they made stories, or you know,
they came up with this religion. They came up with religion.
Yeah.
A lot of religion, it just seems like there's this ongoing fight against death. You know, look at all these little animals, all these little bugs, right? None of them are afraid of death. They're just they're just living. Whether death or life happens, they don't really fight it. They're not afraid of it. For the most part, they just react, or they're in defense if a predator shows up. But human beings are the only ones who fight.
We have the ability to feel.
We fight the concept of death. We refuse to accept it, and then we even go a step further to create stories of an afterlife. Of, okay, this is where we're gonna go. We're gonna end up. Don't worry about what has happened. What's the death that is imminent? There's a better life later on. But in the meantime, in reality, I'm wondering, maybe we're just meant to live and die, just like every other being here, every creature. You live, you die, you go back to the universe. So the older generations, they created all these stories. Probably started off as folklore, and then over the years, as they passed the stories down, they embellished them, they created them, they had different versions of them. But these were just simple coping like they had to imagine like the slaves, right?
Wait, which the slaves specifically?
Well, yeah, there's been slaves.
I mean, there's slavery. There's just a lot in a lot of different countries and cultures. So.
Just say any slave. Imagine being born into a slave family, and you're just born into servitude, and it's become very clear that this is it for you. You've seen generations of your lineage stuck serving others and living miserable lives, and their life is up to their masters, and their masters can take it from them at any time.
And you just know that.
And you just know that you can't do a thing about it.
This is how it's supposed to be, maybe.
I'm trying to put myself in that type of position. I'm sure at some point I'm gonna start, like, I'm gonna sit there and just try to figure out what next. This cannot be it.
Yeah, because I think deep down people know what they have a right to, and like who they are and what they deserve, and you know, they know that they're meant to be free, or they know that they're meant to be able to do things. I think that's why innately, like, we don't love work.
Right. Nobody likes to work.
Human beings don't love work.